The most interesting stories and the most interesting interviews were actually with young people who were in the process of being swimming, competition swimming, and those that had been champion swimmers and for whatever reason had not been able to fulfil the ultimate dream of becoming an Olympic swimmer. And they were closer to the kind of character I wanted to write. They were closer to the age, they were closer to the experience that Danny Kelly goes through in the book. And that was incredibly important. I read, for the first time in my life, a lot of swimmers' autobiographies and biographies. That was one thing I found fascinating about the writing process and the research, is that I thought that I would get a lot of my language in the book would actually come from talking to the swimmers, and reading about, reading those books, reading those accounts of sports, and I realised that something goes on in the process of the athleticism of the competition, of the sport, of what happens to the mind and the body in competition, that they literally don't have words for. The first 2 drafts of Barracuda were really difficult for me because I had this challenge of a young boy completely committed to a discipline and to his sports, and it was almost an unconscious for him, experience of what that meant. He had his focus, he had his dream, he had his swimming, but he wasn't interested in creating a language for it. And he's an inarticulate young man too. And to try and create a language for him, that was the challenge. That was as a writer, that was the most exciting part of the challenge. The first chapter of the book begins with Dan as an adult, and the last chapter of the book is him as a child. And that structure really helped that developing of language, because I could go into Danny as an adult, find his language, and then work back to try and understand what his language would be as an adolescent. But it took a couple of drafts to get there, because part of part of what I wanted to make sure was happening was that there was a consistency in the language, and there was a believable that Danny Kelly as a 13-year-old is the same Dan Kelly as a 33-year-old.